Single mom paid for a homeless man's hotel. Next day he returns to take her child. She watches him walk away with her baby in his arms, the night wind swallowing her scream before it reaches the end of the alley. Her chest burns with regret so fierce it feels like her ribs are splintering, but her legs refuse to move. The man's black suit is pressed, spotless, as if he didn't spend last night shivering on the pavement outside the convenience store, begging strangers for coins. 24 hours ago, he was just another broken stranger on the sidewalk. Now he walks like a king, flanked by two silent men with cold eyes, as if taking her child is nothing more than signing another business contract. No, this can't be happening, she thinks. Not after everything I sacrificed. Her fingers claw at the wet bricks as she tries to stand. Please, she croaks, voice cracking. Please bring her back. She's all I have. He doesn't even turn his head. He lifts the baby a little higher against his chest, as if comforting her, as if she were his. The taillights of the black car flare red, painting the puddles at Jasmine's knees like spilled blood. When the door slams, the sound echoes through the alley like a final verdict. She drops to her knees on the dirty concrete and finally understands the cruelest truth of her life. The night she chose kindness, she lost her child. If this moment already grabbed your heart, take 2 seconds and tell her she isn't alone. Type in the comments where you're watching from, your city, your country, and let our single mom feel you standing behind her. And if intense Afro-Korean mafia stories are your thing, hit subscribe right now so you don't miss what happens next in her fight to get her baby back. The alley blurs. Sirens wail somewhere far away, too distant to matter. Jasmine's mind drags her backward, rewinding the last 24 hours until she stands again under the buzzing neon sign of the convenience store. The night everything went wrong. It was supposed to be just another shift. Another night of pushing a mop down endless hospital corridors, feet aching, shoulders tight, pretending not to hear the nurses' gossip about vacations and new cars. Her own world is much smaller. A cracked phone screen, a countdown timer on the daycare app, and a baby girl who needs formula more than Jasmine needs sleep. By 1:47 a.m., she has already counted every step from the hospital to her apartment twice in her head. 16 minutes if she cuts through the side streets. 20 if she stops at the all-night store for diapers. You can't afford diapers tonight, she reminds herself. Not if you want to keep the lights on. The thought slices through her chest. She hates that her life has become a mathematics of suffering. Milk or rent, bus fare or painkillers, her own hunger for her child's full belly. Outside, rain falls in thin, miserable threads, turning the pavement into a mirror of broken colors. She pulls her thin jacket tight and pushes on, cheap sneakers slapping softly through puddles. She almost walks past him. At first she thinks it's just a pile of trash. Black fabric crumpled against the wall, a pair of shoes sticking out at a strange angle. Then the bundle moves. Jasmine stops. Under the neon sign written in characters she still can't read, a man lies curled around himself, arms wrapped over his chest. His face is half hidden by messy hair, but even in the dim light she sees the bruises, purple and green along his jaw, a thin line of dried blood at the corner of his mouth. He's shivering. Don't. The voice comes from the convenience store doorway. The owner, an older man with tired eyes, leans on the counter, watching her through the glass. He's trouble. Been there 2 hours. I already called someone to move him. Trouble. That word has followed Jasmine from one continent to another. Single mothers are trouble. Immigrants are trouble. Anyone who can't pay their bills on time is trouble. The man lets out a low, involuntary sound, somewhere between a groan and a whisper. His fingers twitch as if reaching for something in a dream. He's going to die out here, she thinks. Right here under this stupid neon sign. She should walk away. Her feet know the way home. Zoe will be asleep, little fists curled near her cheeks, breathing softly in the thrift store crib. One more step, 2 more, and Jasmine can pretend she never saw this man. But she doesn't move. Instead she kneels. Cold water soaks through her jeans as she leans closer. The man's breath is shallow, his skin too pale for someone who has been outside in the wet. Up close she notices his clothes. Though torn and dirty now, the coat is expensive wool, the trousers tailored, the shirt once crisp white. What happened to you? She whispers. His eyelids flutter. Dark, unfocused eyes roll toward her. His lips move but no sound comes out. Jasmine swallows. She knows this feeling, the way the city looks away, the way people pretend not to see. She has been that person on the ground before, metaphorically if not literally, and she remembers how cold the world can be when no one reaches out a hand. Her hand moves before her mind can stop it. She touches his forehead. He's burning. He needs a hospital, she thinks. But they'll ask questions, call the police. He might wake up in handcuffs. He needs a bed. Tonight. Somewhere dry. Somewhere safe. Her fingers tighten around her bag strap. Inside, her wallet waits with the last cash she has until payday. Rent money. Formula money. Daycare money. If I spend this, what do we eat next week? She looks at the stranger again and sees not a threat, not trouble, but a human being someone once loved. Someone's son. Someone's brother. Maybe someone's father. Grandma always said, "Do good and good will find you." Liar, she mutters, but even as she says it, she's already standing, already pushing the convenience store door open. The bell chimes overhead. The owner sighs when she asks for a hot canned coffee and a cheap plastic umbrella. His eyes slide to the man outside, then back. "You don't know who that is," he says quietly. "You don't want to know." "Maybe." She forces a smile she doesn't feel. "But I know what it feels like to be cold and alone. I can't leave him like that." She hands over the crumpled bills. Her stomach twists as the numbers on the register flash. That's daycare gone. Zoe will have to stay home. Jasmine will have to beg her neighbor again. You're insane, she thinks. Completely insane. Back in the rain, she kneels beside the man and presses the warm can into his palms. His fingers curl around it automatically, like his body remembers how to survive even if his mind doesn't. "Hey," she says. "Can you hear me? There's a motel 2 streets over. I'm going to get you a room, okay? Just for tonight. You can't stay here." His eyes slit open. "Why?" He rasps, voice rough as gravel. "You don't know me." "Because no one knew me when I needed help either," she thinks. "Because someone should have done this for me." Out loud, she says. "Because it's cold. Because you're human." That's enough. The motel lobby smells like old cigarettes and bleach. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, casting everything in a pale, unforgiving glow. The receptionist barely looks up when Jasmine enters, half dragging, half supporting the man. He leans heavily against her shoulder, taller than she realized, his weight pushing her off balance. "One night," she pants. Just one night." The receptionist glances at the man's expensive coat, then at Jasmine's second-hand shoes and fraying jacket. His expression shifts into something between curiosity and contempt. "Cash?" "Yes." Jasmine pulls out her wallet. The bills feel heavier than bricks. She lays them on the counter one by one, each note a piece of her future. Daycare. Groceries. Electricity. Gone. He counts slowly, then shrugs and slides a key across the counter. Room 207. No noise, no trouble. "You wouldn't say that if you knew who he was," the store owner's voice echoes in her memory. "Who is he?" Jasmine pushes the question aside as she helps the man into the elevator. His breath comes in shallow bursts, but he's conscious enough now to stumble along. In the room, she guides him to the bed. He collapses onto it with a ragged exhale. For a moment she stands by the door, unsure. She could leave now. She did what she could. But something in the way he curls around himself, arms wrapping his ribs as if expecting a blow, twists inside her. "Drink," she says, pressing the warm can to his lips. "You'll feel better." He drinks obediently, eyes closed. The tendons in his neck stand out, tight with pain. Jasmine notices a dark stain on his shirt near the ribs. She hesitates, then pulls the fabric aside. A blooming bruise spreads across his side, ugly and deep. Someone kicked him more than once. Who did this to you? Her own ribs remember the phantom echo of a boot from another life. Another country. A man who swore he loved her. She shakes the memory away. "You should go," the stranger murmurs, voice slightly clearer. "It's not safe." Jasmine stiffens. "It's not safe for you out there. You can sleep in a dry bed tonight. That's all." His eyes open fully for the first time. In the harsh motel light, they are sharp and dark, far more focused than before. He studies her face as if trying to solve a puzzle. "You gave me your money," he says slowly. "Why would you do that?" Because I know what it's like to choose between freezing and food, she thinks. Because I know what it's like when nobody comes. Don't worry about it, she says instead. Just rest. He stares a moment longer, then nods once. What's your name? Jasmine. A ghost of a smile touches his bruised lips. Jasmine, he repeats as if tasting the sound. I'll remember. Don't, she thinks. People who remember me usually bring trouble. Aloud, she just says, good night, and steps back toward the door. She pauses with her hand on the handle. You'll be safe here, she adds. In the morning you can figure things out. He doesn't answer. His eyes are already closing. Jasmine slips out, the lock clicking softly behind her. The walk home feels longer without the money in her wallet. Each block stretches, heavy with the weight of what she's done. You really did it this time, she thinks. Paid for a stranger's room with your baby's future. Brilliant. But when she climbs the stairs to her tiny apartment and hears Zoe's soft, snuffling breaths through the door, something inside her settles. Her neighbor, Auntie Grace, sits dozing on the couch, TV flickering silently. She wakes with a start when Jasmine enters. You're late, Grace scolds, then softens at the tired lines on Jasmine's face. Long shift. Long night, Jasmine says. Thank you for watching her. I'll pay you on Friday, I promise. Grace waves a hand. We'll count it later. Go see your baby. Zoe sleeps in the crib, tiny hands fisted near her cheeks. Jasmine leans over, breathing in the warm, milky smell of her daughter's hair. I did something crazy today, she whispers. Please don't hate me for it later. Zoe sighs in her sleep. Jasmine smiles weakly. Her chest still feels tight with fear, but there's a stubborn thread of warmth woven through it. You can't save the world, Jasmine, she thinks. But maybe saving one person for one night counts for something. She falls into bed without changing, exhaustion dragging her under. For a few hours, there is nothing but darkness and the sound of Zoe's gentle breathing. Morning arrives as a slap of light across her face. Zoe is already awake, babbling to herself, kicking her legs against the crib bars. Jasmine pulls herself up, every muscle complaining. Good morning, Star, she croons, scooping Zoe into her arms. Did you sleep better than Mommy's bank account? Zoe responds by grabbing a fistful of Jasmine's curls. She is in the middle of making instant coffee when someone knocks on the door. 3 sharp raps. Her heart lurches. Only a few people know this address and none of them knock like that. Debt collectors? Landlord? No, the landlord pounds. This knock is precise. Who is it? She calls, shifting Zoe on her hip. A man's voice answers, smooth and unfamiliar. Jasmine. Her blood turns to ice. She did not tell the stranger her address. Did she? No. She's sure she didn't. Another knock, slightly softer. Jasmine, open the door. I won't hurt you. That's exactly what someone planning to hurt me would say, she thinks. She tiptoes closer, peering through the peephole, and freezes. A man stands in the hallway in a perfectly tailored black suit. Hair slicked back, skin clear of blood and grime. The bruises on his face are still faintly visible, but they only make him look more dangerous, not weaker. Behind him, 2 other men in dark suits wait like shadows. It's him. The homeless man from under the neon sign. Her lungs forget how to work. How did you? She stops herself. Don't show fear. Don't show Zoe. Open the door, Jasmine. He says again, calm as if asking her to pass the salt. I came to repay what I owe. No, this is wrong, she thinks. This is all wrong. Aloud she manages. I don't need anything. You should go. He sighs, a quiet, almost amused sound. I insist. As if on cue, Zoe squirms and lets out a small wail. The man's gaze flickers to the sound behind the door, sharp and calculating. Jasmine's skin prickles. He knows there's a baby. I won't hurt you or your child, he says, as if plucking the fear straight out of her mind. Please, open the door. We shouldn't discuss this in the hallway. Every instinct in her screams to keep the lock turned, but another voice, smaller and more practical, whispers. If you don't open, he might break it down. And then you'll be trapped anyway. She takes a breath. If anything happens to my daughter, nothing will happen to her, he replies. On my honor. Honor. From a man who arrived with bodyguards. Still, Jasmine turns the lock. The door swings inward. Up close, he's even taller than she remembers, broad-shouldered, presence filling the modest doorway. The suit fits him perfectly. The aura of helplessness is gone, replaced by something cold and controlled. His gaze drops to Zoe in her arms. For a moment, something unreadable flickers in his eyes. Then he smiles, a slow, measured curve of lips that doesn't reach those eyes. "Good morning, Jasmine." He steps inside without waiting for an invitation. "You saved my life last night. I am here to return the favor." The door clicks shut behind him, swallowing the last strip of hallway light. For a heartbeat, no one moves. The apartment suddenly feels 2 sizes too small, crowded by the cold, precise presence of the man in the suit and the 2 shadows waiting just outside. Zoe squirms against Jasmine's chest, sensing the tension. Jasmine shifts her higher on her hip, instinctively putting herself between the stranger and her daughter. "Don't come any closer," she says. Her voice shakes, but she says it anyway. He pauses, then lifts his hands slightly, palms visible. "I told you," he replies calmly. "I'm not here to hurt you." Up close, his face looks different from the wreck she found under the neon sign. The bruises are still faintly there, but his eyes are sharp now, measuring, the eyes of a man who is used to being obeyed. "You said your name was Jasmine," he continues. "Do you remember giving me yours?" She nods stiffly. "I'm Minjun," he says. Choi Minjun. The name means nothing to her, but the way he says it makes her feel like it should. Like there is weight behind it, history, danger. She swallows. You found the motel room okay?" A faint smile touches his lips. "I woke up in a clean bed instead of on the concrete. I noticed." He glances around the tiny apartment, the second-hand furniture, the stack of unpaid bills on the table, the drying rack in the corner with baby clothes hanging like small flags of surrender. His gaze lingers on Zoe. "How old is she?" he asks. Jasmine stiffens. "Why?" "Curiosity." "1," she answers reluctantly. "Almost 13 months. 13 months," he repeats quietly, as if testing the number in his mouth. "Beautiful age." Zoe stares at him solemnly, thumb halfway to her mouth, curls sticking up in all directions. For once she's quiet. Jasmine's heart hammers so loudly she's sure he can hear it. "You came to say thank you," Jasmine says, forcing the words out. "Now you said it. You can go." He turns back to her, eyebrows lifting. "You think a word is enough? I don't want anything else." "That is fortunate," he replies. "Because I'm not here to offer you trinkets, Jasmine. I'm here to repay a debt." She laughs once, short and humorless. "You don't owe me anything. I saw someone in trouble, I helped. That's all. You don't understand what you did. I paid for a motel room. You interfered with an execution," he says quietly. The room tilts. Jasmine grips Zoe tighter. "What?" "The men who did this," he gestures lazily to the fading bruises, "were not random criminals. They were sent to finish something. I was meant to disappear in that alley last night. You changed that outcome. No, this can't be happening," she thinks. "I just wanted to get someone out of the rain. I don't want to know about any of that," she says quickly. "I don't want to be involved. You already are." His gaze sharpens, and for the first time, she sees the steel beneath the polished exterior, the cold calculation that kept him alive long enough for her to find him. "You brought me back into the game," he continues. "My enemies will move again. But they miscalculated one thing. I do not leave debts unpaid. You gave me life. I will give you protection." The word lands in the room like a stone tossed into still water. "I don't need protection," she says. "I need daycare money." One corner of his mouth twitches. "We'll address both." He takes a step closer. Jasmine's body responds before her mind does. She backs up until her shoulders hit the wall, Zoe pressed under her chin. "Stop," she whispers. He stops. To his credit, he doesn't push. His eyes flick to Zoe again, then back to Jasmine. "You live alone?" he asks. "Yes. No family here?" "I have family," she answers. "Just not the kind who knock on my door in expensive suits." "Where's her father?" "Not here." Her teeth grind. "Not anywhere I want to talk about." Something cold and furious flashes across his face. directed not at her, but at the invisible man she's refusing to describe. Men who walk away from their blood are cowards, he says. But that's not my business yet. Yet. Jasmine's stomach drops. Look, whatever your world is, it's not mine. I clean floors. I change diapers. I barely sleep. I'm not interested in playing Mafia games. It's the first time she says the word out loud, but it fits him too well. He wears danger like a second skin. He cocks his head. Mafia. If you show up in my apartment with 2 men and a suit at 9 in the morning, I'm not going to assume you're a dentist, she snaps. His laugh is soft and surprised, a quick crack in his composure. You're braver than you look. I'm tired, she replies. That's not the same thing. He studies her for another long moment, then reaches into his jacket. Jasmine flinches, but he only pulls out a slim black wallet. From it, he removes a card and places it on the wobbly table near the door. My driver will bring you to my office tomorrow at 10, he says. Bring your daughter. Her heart stutters. No. Yes. I'm not going to some office with my baby to meet a guy I found half dead on the street. You're not meeting a guy, he replies. You're meeting the man whose life you saved. The man who can make sure you never again have to choose between rent and medicine. The man whose enemies will look for any weakness they can find, including the woman from the security footage who dragged him out of their hunting ground last night. Ice crawls down her spine. Security footage, she repeats. There are cameras near the convenience store, he says. My people pulled the recordings as soon as I could stand. They've already seen your face. She sways. The room blurs at the edges. So you're saying, her throat tightens. You're saying because I helped you, someone might come after me. Yes. Her knees almost buckle. Only Zoe's small weight in her arms keeps her upright. This isn't fair, she thinks. I helped. I did the right thing. Life rarely rewards goodness, he says quietly, as if reading her thoughts. That's why people like you are rare. And that is why people like me take responsibility. He turns toward the door. For a moment she thinks it's over. Then he stops, hand resting lightly on the handle. Tomorrow, he repeats. 10 o'clock. Dress warm. The car will wait 5 minutes. And if I don't come? His voice stays gentle, but the words are iron. You will come. Then he's gone, the door closing behind him with a soft click that feels louder than a slam. Zoe whimpers. Jasmine realizes she's been holding her so tightly the child can hardly breathe. She loosens her grip, presses trembling lips to Zoe's forehead. What did I do? She whispers. If you were in Jasmine's place, would you get in that car tomorrow? Or would you run? Tell her in the comments. Car or run? If you want to see exactly how her choice destroys or saves her life, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. This is only the beginning. Sleep doesn't return that night. Every time Jasmine closes her eyes, she sees taillights disappearing at the end of an alley, a black suit walking away with her baby. You're overreacting, she tells herself. He said he wanted to repay you. Then she remembers his other words. Execution. Enemies. Protection. By morning, her head aches from the unending loop of fear and what-ifs. Auntie Grace notices the dark circles under her eyes when she comes by to borrow sugar. You look like you've seen a ghost, the older woman says, leaning on the doorframe. What happened? Jasmine hesitates. She has learned the hard way that telling people too much can make things worse. But Grace has watched Zoe for free more times than she can count. A man came by, Jasmine says finally. From work. Work. Grace's eyebrows climb. Not my work. His. That sounds like trouble. Jasmine laughs weakly. I think Trouble is his middle name. Grace's gaze sharpens. He threatened you? He invited me to his office. You going? Jasmine looks at Zoe, who is chewing a rubber giraffe on the floor, completely oblivious to the storm swirling around her. If I don't go, she says slowly, I think that's worse. Grace studies her for a long moment, then nods once. Then you go. But you don't go alone. I have to take Zoe. Not what I mean. Grace disappears into her apartment and returns with a small leather crossbody bag. She presses it into Jasmine's hands. Feels heavier than it looks. Open it later, Grace says. If he's what I think he is, words might not be enough. Jasmine's stomach flips. What's inside? Just a very loud opinion, Grace replies. One you can fire if you really have to. A gun. Jasmine almost hands it back. Almost. No, this can't be happening, she thinks. Guns and suits and enemies because I couldn't walk past a stranger in the rain. Instead, she nods and sets the bag on the counter out of Zoe's reach. At 9:55 a.m., a black sedan pulls up outside her building. Not shiny and showy like in movies. Understated, windows tinted, the kind of car that doesn't need to scream power because everyone already knows who it belongs to. Jasmine watches from behind the curtain. Heart pounding. You can still run, she thinks. Grab Zoe. Disappear into another neighborhood. Another city. Another country. And go where? With what money? As if sensing her panic, Zoe toddles over and presses her face to Jasmine's leg. Mama, she chirps. Jasmine exhales. We're going, Star, she whispers. Just for a ride. Just to talk. She puts Zoe in her warmest coat, tucks a spare pacifier and a bottle into the diaper bag, and slings Grace's crossbody over her own shoulder. The weight of it is both terrifying and strangely grounding. Outside, the driver steps out as soon as he sees her. He's middle-aged, expression unreadable, bowing his head slightly. Miss Jasmine? Yes. He opens the back door. Please. Every step toward the car feels like a step toward the edge of a cliff. She straps Zoe into the car seat already waiting there. Of course there's a car seat, part of her notes distantly. These people think of everything. The city blurs past the windows as they pull away. Jasmine presses her forehead to the cool glass, watching familiar streets give way to neighborhoods she's only cleaned in other people's uniforms. They cross a bridge, then another. Buildings grow taller, shinier. The sidewalks are filled with people who look like they've never had to choose between rent and food. Finally, the car slows in front of a glass tower that reaches into the sky like a shard of ice. At the top, large letters spell out a name she's seen before on the news, on billboards, on the hospital's donation plaques. Choi Group. Her mouth dries. Of course, she thinks. Of course it would be you. The driver opens her door. He's waiting. Inside, the lobby gleams, marble floors, high ceilings, a receptionist desk like a hotel. People in suits move with purpose, the air smelling faintly of expensive cologne and fresh coffee. Jasmine suddenly feels painfully aware of her cheap jacket, her worn shoes, the baby on her hip. The receptionist looks up, sees the driver, and offers a small, respectful nod. 23rd floor, she says. They're expecting you. In the elevator, Jasmine's ears pop as they rise. Zoe claps her hands at the moving numbers. Ding, she giggles. Jasmine forces a smile. Yeah, ding. When the doors open, a hallway stretches ahead, carpet thick enough to swallow footsteps. At the end, glass doors bear Minjun's name in discreet lettering. The driver knocks once, then opens the door and steps aside. Jasmine walks in. Minjun stands with his back to the room, looking out over the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. In the daylight, the skyline glitters. Endless buildings, busy streets, her entire world reduced to a toy set at his feet. He turns when he hears Zoe's delighted squeal. For a moment, something unguarded crosses his face. His gaze goes straight to the child, softening in a way that makes Jasmine's chest clench. Good morning, he says. You came. I didn't feel like I had a choice, Jasmine replies. There is always a choice, he says, but not all of them are wise. He gestures to a seating area. A couch that probably costs more than her entire apartment. Jasmine stays standing. What do you want from me? She asks. Because people like you don't give things away for free. He studies her for a moment, then nods slightly, as if approving her directness. You're right, he says. I don't. So let's not pretend this is charity. He walks to his desk, picks up a folder and hands it to her. Inside are photographs. Grainy stills from security cameras. She sees herself in black and white, bending over a man on the ground, rain streaking between them like static. Next image. Her arm around his waist, hauling him up. Next. Her face turned toward the camera, eyes focused, mouth set. And then a final shot farther away but clear enough. Two men standing in the shadows at the end of the alley watching. Those are theirs, Minjun says, tapping the last photo. They saw you. Jasmine's stomach drops. What do they want? To send me a message, he replies. They failed to kill me. Now they look for leverage. Weak points. People I care about. I barely know you, she says. They don't know that. Her pulse thunders in her ears. Zoe squirms, sensing the tension. So what now? She whispers. You're saying because I helped you, my daughter and I are targets. And your solution is what? To show me scary pictures. My solution, Minjun says softly, is to make sure that anyone who thinks of touching you understands that you are under my protection. And what does that mean exactly? It means you come under my umbrella. That's not an answer. He smiles again, but there is no humor in it. It means you and your child live in housing I control. You work for me in a legitimate branch of my businesses. Bodyguards shadow you. Your debts disappear. Your daughter gets the best daycare money can buy. And anyone who so much as looks at you with bad intentions will think twice, because they know you belong to me. The word belongs punches the air out of her lungs. I'm not property, she says. You're right, he answers calmly. You are responsibility. Silence stretches between them. It's a gilded cage, she thinks. Warm, safe, and locked. And if I say no? His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Then I increase security in that neighborhood for a while. I keep my people watching the cameras. I hope my enemies decide you aren't worth the trouble. Hope, she repeats. Yes. And in your world is hope enough? He looks away, out at the glittering cityscape. For the first time, she sees an old, bone-deep weariness in the line of his shoulders. In my world, he says quietly, hope is for people who don't have power. I do. And I intend to use it. He turns back to her. I'm not a good man, Jasmine. But I pay what I owe. You gave me back my life. Let me make yours less breakable. Her throat tightens. No, this can't be happening, she thinks. I just wanted to help. Zoe chooses that moment to thrust her pacifier toward him, as if offering a treaty. Ah, she says. Minjun stares at the small plastic object, then lets out a breath that might almost be a laugh. He crouches slightly, bringing himself to Zoe's eye level. Annyeong, he murmurs. Hello, little star. Zoe giggles. Jasmine's heart twists. This is how it starts, she thinks. With soft words and toys and promises. She hugs Zoe closer. What do you want me to do? His eyes meet hers. Say yes. And then, he says, I take you home. The way he says home makes something inside her flinch and lean forward at the same time. Home where the roof doesn't leak. Where the lights stay on. Where bills don't pile up on the table. Where Zoe never has to taste watered-down formula again. Home where the man who owns it can call at any hour and expect her to answer. Jasmine closes her eyes for a moment. If I walk away, I might keep my freedom and lose my child to his enemies, she thinks. If I say yes, I keep my child and risk losing myself. She opens her eyes. I'll work for you, she says slowly. But I don't belong to you. And my daughter is not a bargaining chip. Something like respect flickers in his gaze. Agreed, he says. You belong to yourself. She belongs to you. And both of you will be under my roof. He extends his hand. Jasmine looks at it, then at Zoe, then at the city beyond the glass. She takes his hand. His grip is warm, steady. A door closes behind her somewhere, silent and final. If you're still here, you've just watched Jasmine step into a world she doesn't understand to protect the only person she loves. Type I'm with Jasmine in the comments and say where you're watching from so she knows how many people are walking into that mansion with her. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is your moment, because the next thing is where safety turns into a cage. The contract is only 10 pages, but it feels heavier than a phone book in Jasmine's hands. Minjun's legal team worked fast. By evening, a printed copy sits on the wobbly table in her apartment, its neat Korean lines translated underneath into English for her. Employment agreement. Residential lease. NON disclosure. Big words for a woman who usually signs only on dotted lines at the bottom of payment plans. You don't have to agree tonight, Minjun had said as his assistant laid the papers down. Read it. Think. Tomorrow we move you. Tomorrow. The word hangs in the warm air of her small apartment like a storm cloud. Now, alone except for Zoe, Jasmine reads. She traces each clause with her finger, mouthing the words. Full-time employment as liaison in hospitality division. On-site apartment provided. Daycare included. Security detail assigned. And there, buried in the legal language like a needle in cotton. In matters of safety, the Choi Group reserves the right to make emergency decisions regarding the relocation and protection of the employee's child. She reads that line 3 times. Emergency decisions. So if something happens, they can move Zoe without asking. No, this can't be happening, she thinks. Even on paper, they're planning how to take her. She slumps back in the chair, rubbing her eyes. Zoe plays on the floor with a plastic cup and a wooden spoon, happily banging out her own chaotic rhythm. Star, Jasmine murmurs. What am I supposed to do? Zoe answers by dropping the spoon and clapping. Jasmine huffs a breath that isn't quite a laugh. Her phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number flashes on the screen. This is Min-jun. Have you eaten? She stares at the text. Of all the questions she expected from a mafia boss, that wasn't one of them. Yes. She types, though the half-cold noodles on the stove barely count. Another message arrives almost immediately. Feed yourself properly. You'll need strength. My driver will come at 8 in the morning. Pack only essentials. Pack only essentials. As if her whole life isn't already stripped down to essentials. She looks around the apartment. The couch with a spring poking through, the thrift store TV, the chipped mug collection. The only things that really matter are on the floor in a tangle of baby limbs and curls. She does not reply. Night crawls by slowly. Jasmine packs a small suitcase with shaking hands. Clothes for Zoe, a few outfits for herself, her worn-out photo of grandma, the tiny gold bracelet her mother managed to send from home, the documents that prove she and Zoe exist. Everything else can burn. Before bed, she opens Grace's crossbody bag. Inside, wrapped in an old handkerchief, lies a small pistol. Black, compact, heavier than it looks. Her stomach flips. You can't keep this, she thinks. This is madness. But she wraps it back up and tucks it into the suitcase anyway. Beneath layers of baby clothes. Her fingers tremble. Just a very loud opinion, Grace had said. Things go wrong, Jasmine thinks. I might need to shout. Morning arrives, gray and damp. The black sedan waits at the curb like a patient shadow. Grace stands in the hallway, arms folded tight. You call me, she says. First day, first night, anytime. You don't let them make you feel grateful for things they owe you. You understand. Jasmine nods, throat thick. Thank you. She wants to hug the older woman, but her hands are full, Zoe on one arm, suitcase in the other. A diaper bag digging into her shoulder. You come back, Grace says roughly. With that baby. Both of you. We will, Jasmine whispers, hoping it's not a lie. The ride this time is longer, winding away from glass towers into quieter streets. Then up into the hills that look down over the city. The buildings here are older, bigger, set back from the road behind stone walls and iron gates. The car slows before one of those gates. It slides open silently as if the earth itself is obeying. The house beyond isn't just a house. It's a mansion. 2 stories of pale stone, wide steps leading to heavy double doors. Tall windows watching the driveway like eyes. Zoe presses her nose to the glass. Big, she breathes. Yeah, Jasmine murmurs. Big. Her heart crawls up into her throat as the driver opens the door. The air smells different here. Pine trees, wet earth, something expensive and clean. A man in his 50s waits by the steps, posture perfectly straight. Welcome, he says, bowing slightly. I am Mr. Han, house manager. The master is expecting you. The master. The words clang against her nerves. Inside, the foyer is all polished wood and soft rugs. Art on the walls that looks like it belongs in a museum. Not a hallway people track mud through. None of this is real, she thinks. I fell asleep in my apartment and this is a fever dream. But the weight of Zoe on her hip, the ache in her shoulders, the memory of the gun hidden in her suitcase, those are real enough. Mr. Han leads them through the house. Security will be on all entrances, he says in precise, measured English. Your apartment is on the 2nd floor, south wing. Nanny's room adjacent if needed. Nanny, Jasmine echoes. For the child, Mr. Han replies. If you require assistance. I don't want strangers raising my daughter, she thinks. But she nods anyway because there is too much to process already. They reach a door at the end of a hallway. Your quarters. Mr. Han says, opening it. The apartment is larger than her entire old place. A small living room with a couch that looks soft enough to swallow her whole, a kitchenette with gleaming appliances, a bedroom with a double bed she might drown in, and a smaller room already set up with a crib, toys, a changing table. Zoe squeals and lunges toward the crib, delight wide on her face. Jasmine sets her down. The child immediately begins testing everything. Banging on the bars, tugging at a plush elephant, toddling from one side to the other with fierce concentration. You may unpack, Mr. Han says. The master will see you after lunch. When is lunch? Jasmine asks. At 1, he replies. Someone will bring a tray. If you require anything before then, press this. He points to a discreet button near the door. A call button, like in a hospital. Her skin prickles. When the door closes, the silence in the apartment feels loud. Jasmine walks slowly through the rooms, touching nothing. The sheets on the bed smell like fabric softener and money. The closet hangs half full already with clothes in her size that she has never owned. Blouses, skirts, a coat that might actually survive winter. They measured me somehow, she realizes. She sits on the edge of the bed and drops her face into her hands. You okay, Mama? Zoe asks from the crib, mangling the words. No, she thinks. Not even a little. Yes, she lies aloud. We're safe. Safe and trapped, a voice in her whispers. Would you feel safe here? Or would every soft pillow feel like a trap? Tell Jasmine in the comments. Safe or trapped? And if this new world she stepped into has you hooked, hit subscribe so you're here when safety turns into something else. Lunch arrives on a tray so large Jasmine has to move the coffee table to make space. There's more food than she and Zoe usually eat in an entire day: rice, soup, grilled fish, side dishes in neat, colorful piles. A smaller plate holds cut-up fruit and tiny sandwiches shaped like stars. For the little one, the maid says with a brief bow before retreating. Zoe's eyes go huge at the sight of star-shaped bread. Wow! Jasmine laughs despite herself. Don't get used to it, she murmurs. We're guests, not princesses. Still, when she tastes the soup, her eyes sting. She hadn't realized how long it had been since she ate something that wasn't instant or cheap. They're fattening us up, she thinks. The way farmers fatten animals they plan to keep or slaughter. She shakes the thought away and focuses on feeding Zoe. The child devours everything, crumbs sticking to her cheeks. After lunch, there's a knock. This time, when the door opens, it's Minjun himself. No suit jacket, just a crisp shirt with the sleeves rolled up, top button undone. He looks less like a crime lord and more like the CEO some newspaper called him last year. Jasmine stands automatically. You could have called, she says. I did, he replies. You didn't answer. She glances at her phone, abandoned on the counter. 3 missed calls. I was feeding my daughter, she says. Good. His gaze flicks to Zoe, who is now sitting on the floor with a plush elephant, chewing its ear. She likes the food. She likes anything that isn't powdered milk. Then we're already improving her life, he says. Sit. He takes the armchair. She perches on the sofa's edge. I had my people look deeper into your situation, he says without preamble. Rent behind by 2 months. Hospital billing you for a visit after Zoe's fever last winter. Daycare threatening to drop her if you don't pay by the end of the month. Heat floods her face. You what? You had no right to. To what? He cuts in smoothly. To know what kind of storm I pulled you out of? I needed to understand what I was offering to pay for. I didn't ask you to pay for anything, she snaps. No, he agrees. You asked for nothing. That's precisely why I trust you more than most people I've met. The compliment throws her off balance. He continues, from today those debts are gone. She stares. What? Cleared. Settled. You will receive confirmation from each office. As of now, your only responsibilities are your work for me, and your daughter. Her heart thuds. Debt's gone. She imagines the landlord's smirk wiped away. The hospital's red letters disappearing. The daycare stopping their subtle threats. What do I have to do? She asks quietly. You'll start in the hotel division, he says. You speak English and decent Korean. You can translate for foreign guests, help with special requests. 9 to 3 weekdays. The rest of your time is yours. 9 to 3. That's fewer hours than her hospital shifts, with better pay and daycare included. Too good, she thinks. Nothing is this good without a catch. And your enemies? She asks. You said they'd look for leverage. They will, he says. Which is why you'll rarely be outside this compound without escort. And why I will not tolerate you leaving without telling me exactly where you're going and why. There it is. The catch. I'm not a prisoner, she says. Prisoners don't have salaries and contracts. Prisoners also don't have people with guns telling them when they can step outside, she says. For a second his jaw tightens. Then he exhales slowly. Jasmine, he says. If I wanted to lock you away, I could have simply done that. No contract. No job. No daycare. What I want is for you and your daughter to survive long enough that one day, when all of this is over, you can walk out of here freely if you still wish to. If, she echoes. Yes. If. Zoe crawls across the carpet and pulls herself up using his knee for balance. He looks down, surprised, then carefully steadies her with one hand. Up, she demands, tiny palms patting his leg. He hesitates, then lifts her. Zoe squeals with delight, grabbing his collar. Something unguarded flickers across his face again. A shadow of pain quickly smoothed away. How long has it been since you held a child? Jasmine hears herself ask. He doesn't look at her when he answers. 13 months. The same age as Zoe. A chill runs through her. What happened? He doesn't reply. Instead, he looks at Zoe, who is happily trying to peel a button off his shirt. My wife was pregnant, he says at last, voice flat. They targeted her car. She didn't make it to the hospital. Jasmine's breath catches. I'm sorry. He nods once, still not looking at her. Your daughter is the first child I've held since. No, she thinks. Don't bond with her. Don't look at her like that. Zoe pats his cheek and laughs. Ah. A soft, broken smile touches his lips. This, he murmurs almost to himself, is why I refuse to lose again. He looks up at Jasmine, and for a moment she sees the decision forming in his eyes, solidifying into something immovable. Her chest tightens. Whatever he's about to do, she thinks, he's already convinced it's the only way. Do you trust the way he looks at her? Or does it scare you more than his threats? Tell Jasmine in the comments. Trust him, or protect her. And don't forget to subscribe, because when a man like this decides a child is his second chance, he doesn't always ask the mother's permission. Monday morning arrives sharp and cold. A driver takes Jasmine to the Choi Group's flagship hotel. A sleek glass building downtown, all clean lines and carefully curated luxury. Minjun walks her through the lobby, hand briefly at the small of her back, and introduces her to the concierge manager, a woman named Park with kind eyes and a practiced smile. Jasmine will be assisting with VIP guests, Minjun says. She speaks fluent English and has experience with difficult situations. He's lying. Jasmine has never worked anywhere this nice. Never worn clothes like these. Never stood in a lobby where a single vase costs more than her old apartment's entire furniture. But nobody questions him. Park shows her to a small office off the main desk. There's a desk, a computer, a phone. A nameplate that already bears her name. You'll start with simple translations, Park says warmly. Guest requests, complaints, special accommodations. After a few weeks, if you're comfortable, we might have you accompany VIPs on tours or special services. Jasmine nods, not trusting her voice. When Park leaves, Jasmine sits at the desk and presses her forehead to the cool wood. This is real. This is happening. The first guest comes at 10:47 a.m. An American businessman who speaks no Korean and needs the room temperature adjusted. Jasmine handles it smoothly, her years of placating difficult hospital patients translating surprisingly well to hospitality. By lunch, she's helped 4 guests. By end of day, she's fielded 7 requests. And by Friday, she realizes she's actually competent at this job. It doesn't make her feel better. It makes her feel worse. Because it means she's becoming indispensable, integrated into Minjun's world, woven so carefully into the fabric of his life that leaving would unravel something. Every morning, the driver takes her to work. Every evening, he picks her up. Zoe stays in the mansion's daycare, watched by a kind woman named Nurse Cho who sends daily photos to Jasmine's phone. Zoe laughing in a high chair at lunch, Zoe napping on a soft mat. Zoe playing with other children her age in a sunny room. Each photo is a golden thread tying her tighter to this place. Then one evening when Jasmine returns to the mansion, she finds Minjun in the playroom with Zoe. She stops in the doorway watching. He's on the floor, impossibly tall man folded like origami, building a tower of soft blocks while Zoe sits opposite him, her entire face concentrated on knocking it down. Again, Zoe demands. He builds it again. She knocks it down. Again. 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 Jasmine sees something in his face she hasn't seen before. Not calculation, not control, but something softer. Gentler. Almost like healing. No, she thinks. Don't let him heal through my child. Zoe, she calls. The baby's head snaps toward her voice. Mama. She toddles over, falling into Jasmine's arms with the unself-conscious trust of a 1-year-old who doesn't know that the world breaks people. Minjun stands, graceful despite his size. She's been asking for you, he says. I brought her here while you were at work. You took her out of daycare? She was bored. He says it so simply, as if moving her child's schedule is his prerogative. She's sharper than the other children, more aware. She's a baby, Jasmine says sharply. Yes, he agrees. My baby. The words hang in the air like a blade. She's not your baby, Jasmine whispers. He meets her eyes. For a long moment, they stand in the soft evening light of the playroom, Zoe heavy and warm in Jasmine's arms, the invisible weight of what's unsaid pressing down. Not yet, he says finally. 3 weeks into her new life at the mansion, Jasmine begins to understand the careful choreography of Minjun's world. Security rotations at dawn and dusk. Guards who nod respectfully when she passes. Cameras positioned discreetly at every entrance and hallway. The constant, invisible weight of being watched and protected, a distinction she's no longer sure exists. She's learned the kitchen staff's names, the groundskeeper's routines, the particular rhythm of how this house breathes. But she's also learned to recognize the minute changes that mean danger. It starts with extra guards appearing on the grounds, then armed men in the hallways, then Minjun's phone calls getting longer, his jaw tighter, his eyes going to Zoe more frequently with an intensity that frightens her. There's been an incident, he finally tells her on a Tuesday evening. They're in his study, a room lined with books Jasmine suspects he's never read, all for appearance. Some of my brother's men crossed into territory they shouldn't have. Your brother? Jasmine asks. She knows Minjun has a brother. She's overheard conversations, pieced together whispers from staff. But Minjun doesn't talk about him, and Jasmine has learned not to ask. My brother, Minjun says coldly, is the reason my wife died. He's also the reason you and your daughter are useful to me. The words land like a punch. Useful. Everyone needs insurance, he says. My brother thinks I'm softer now, weaker because I lost my wife. He's testing to see if I'll break. And if he can find your daughter, he will take her. Not to hurt her, to prove to me that nothing I care about is safe. Jasmine's blood turns to ice. Then we should leave, she says. Right now. Tonight. You can't leave, he replies. I won't let you. You can't keep us here forever. I can, he says. Until my brother is no longer a threat. And when will that be? He doesn't answer. Instead, he stands and walks to a painting on the wall. A portrait of a woman with Minjun's eyes, swollen with pregnancy, hand resting on her belly. His wife. Zoe's age difference means this woman was 8 months pregnant when she died. 2 weeks, he says quietly. My people found my brother's safe house. In 2 weeks I will end this. After that, you'll be free to go. Free, she repeats bitterly. That's a funny word for what you're offering. But she doesn't push. She can't. Because he's right. If his brother has seen her face in security footage, if enemies know Zoe exists, then leaving the mansion is signing their death warrant. She's trapped. Completely, irrevocably trapped. That night, Jasmine lies in her bed and stares at the ceiling, listening to the guards walking their routes outside her window. She thinks about Grace's gun, still hidden at the bottom of her suitcase under the bed. What am I even going to do with it? She thinks. Shoot my way out? With the baby in my arms? She's trapped in a beautiful cage with a man who's becoming a father to her daughter, and she has no idea how to escape. It happens 3 days later. Jasmine is at work, translating a complaint from a Japanese guest about thread count in the linens, when her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number, but with an address she recognizes. Come home now. Vian Danger. The phone number belongs to the house. Someone using Minjun's phone, typing with panicked, fractured English. Her heart stops. I have to go, she gasps to Park. Emergency. She's already running before Park can respond. The drive takes 15 minutes that feel like hours. Jasmine sits in the back of the car, fingers digging into her palms, unable to breathe properly. Zoe in danger. When they arrive at the mansion, guards block the main entrance. Inside, there's chaos disguised as control. Staff moving quickly, shutters being drawn, weapons visible. A gunfight. There's been a gunfight on the grounds. Where's Zoe? Jasmine screams at the nearest guard. The master has her, he says. Second floor, east wing. Safe room. She doesn't wait for directions. She runs. The safe room is exactly what it sounds like. Concrete walls, reinforced door, panic room built into the mansion's skeleton. Inside, Minjun stands with Zoe pressed against his chest, the child crying, terrified. She's okay, he says immediately, seeing Jasmine's face. She's fine. Nobody touched her. Give her to me, Jasmine gasps, reaching out. But Minjun doesn't move. There was an attack, he says, his voice cold and controlled despite the chaos outside. My brother's men. They breached the perimeter trying to reach her. 3 guards are down. 2 of them won't wake up again. Give her to me, Jasmine repeats. I'm activating Protocol 7, he says, as if she hasn't spoken. Full lockdown. Zoe stays in the East Tower. Highest security. New staff rotation. Restricted access. What are you talking about? Jasmine whispers. She knows what he's talking about. She read it in the contract. Emergency relocation procedures. But she thought they'd discussed this, thought he'd consult her if it came to it. The contract, he says simply. Section 4, subsection C. In the event of immediate, credible threat to the child's life, the Choi Group reserves the right to implement emergency protective measures, including but not limited to relocation and reassignment of guardianship responsibilities. No, she thinks. No. You can't, she says. She's my daughter. And I'm keeping her alive, he replies. Which is more than you can do. His eyes are hard now, the softness from the playroom completely gone, replaced by the man who took her from the alley, cold, calculating, convinced of his own rightness. You can see her every day, he continues. But she moves to the East Tower tonight. Nurses, guards, 24-hour security. No one gets to her without my permission. Minjun. This is non-negotiable. He extends Zoe toward her, and for a moment Jasmine thinks he's going to let her hold her daughter. But he doesn't. He just lets her press her forehead to Zoe's, lets her whisper promises she's not sure she can keep, and then he pulls the child back. I'll have someone bring you dinner, he says, his voice already turning back to business. You'll stay in your apartment tonight. Tomorrow we'll discuss the new routine. You're keeping us separated? I'm keeping her safe, he says. There's a difference. But there isn't, and they both know it. The door closes between them. Zoe's cries echo on the other side until a guard leads Jasmine away, her legs moving on autopilot, her mind somewhere far away with her baby. Later, alone in her apartment, Jasmine opens her suitcase and pulls out the gun. She holds it for a long time, understanding finally what Grace meant. This isn't a very loud opinion anymore. This is the only language Minjun speaks now. But she doesn't know if she's brave enough to use it. 3 days later, Jasmine sits in the parlor at the front of the mansion, waiting to be escorted to see her daughter. She's allowed 1 hour each day, supervised by a nanny who hovers in the corner, notebook in hand, documenting every moment. Zoe doesn't recognize this version of her mother, hollow-eyed, moving like a puppet, barely present even while holding her. Mama! Zoe touches her face, confused by the tears. It's okay, Star, Jasmine whispers. Mommy's just tired. But it's not tired. It's the realization that she's lost. That Minjun has won. That the man who saved her life has taken the only life that matters. She tries to plan an escape. She studies the guards' rotations, learns the codes for the gates, watches for weakness in the system. But every exit is blocked. Every plan requires her to leave Zoe behind, and she'd rather die than do that. So she becomes a ghost in the mansion, moving through hallways without touching anything, sleeping without dreaming, existing without living. And then on the 7th night everything changes. Minjun's brother doesn't wait 2 weeks. He moves faster than Minjun expected, sending a direct message. A bomb in the East Tower's foundation, discovered just in time by accident. It doesn't detonate. But the threat is clear. Nowhere in this house is safe. Minjun makes a decision that night. Jasmine hears it through the walls, his cold voice on the phone giving orders. Relocation. Immediate. Zoe moves to a secondary property more secure, even more isolated. And Jasmine's allowed to go with her. They're in a black car at midnight, moving through empty streets. Zoe sleeps in a car seat, exhausted from the chaos. Minjun sits across from them in the back, laptop open, handling business as if moving a child is routine. Where are we going? Jasmine asks. Somewhere safer. That's not an answer. It's all the answer you get, he replies without looking up. The car winds through the city, heading toward the industrial district. Toward the docks. Toward the alley where this all started. No, Jasmine thinks. He wouldn't. But he would. The car stops outside the convenience store. Through the window, she can see the owner, older now, watching them with recognition in his eyes. Minjun steps out. A man opens Jasmine's door. She doesn't move. Get out, Minjun says. It's not cruel. Just fact. Why are we here? Because I want you to remember, he says. Where you found me. What you sacrificed. What I took from you in return. Jasmine's skin crawls. She gathers Zoe into her arms and steps out of the car. The night is cool. The alley dark except for the neon sign and the car's headlights. Minjun walks to the end of the alley, to where it opens onto another street. A second car waits there, engine running, trunk open. Zoe stays with me, he says simply. In the other vehicle. You go back. The words don't make sense at first. Then they do, and Jasmine's entire world shatters. No. She holds Zoe tighter. No. You can't. I can, he says. I'm her father now, Jasmine. That's what this was always going to be. She looks at her daughter, at the sleepy confusion on her face. Zoe, no. You saved my life, Minjun continues, voice almost gentle. So I'm giving yours back. Walk away. Go find Grace. Rebuild. Live freely, knowing your daughter is safe, protected, cared for by someone who will never leave her. By someone who stole her, Jasmine whispers. By someone who will kill to keep her alive, he corrects. Which is more than her biological father did. She takes a step back. Then another. The gun. She still has the gun. It's in her pocket, cold and heavy, a last resort she swore she'd never use. She reaches for it. Minjun doesn't move. Doesn't stop her. Just watches as her hand trembles over the weapon. If you shoot me, he says calmly, you'll never see her again. My people will find you. They will make sure you suffer until you beg them to end it. And Zoe will grow up knowing her mother killed her father. You're not her father. I am now, he says. The contract made it so. The law makes it so. And in 3 months the paperwork will make it official. Jasmine's finger hovers over the trigger. One shot. That's all it would take. But it won't bring Zoe back. It will only ensure she never sees her daughter again. Slowly her hand falls. Minjun takes Zoe from her arms. The child, confused, reaches back toward Jasmine. Mama, she cries. I know, Star. Jasmine whispers, her voice breaking. I know. You'll receive updates, Minjun says. Photos. Videos. Proof that she's alive and happy. But you won't try to take her. You won't contact authorities. You'll live your life and she'll live hers, and one day, when she's old enough to understand, maybe she'll forgive us both. And if I don't agree, then I make sure Grace never sees you again either, he says. I own this city, Jasmine. Not legally, but in every way that matters. You can fight me or you can accept this. There is no third option. Zoe reaches toward her, crying now, and Minjun gently turns her away, bouncing her slightly, already murmuring in Korean, already becoming the thing Jasmine always feared. A father. Her daughter's father. The only father Zoe will ever know. Jasmine watches as he walks to the second car. Watches as he buckles Zoe into another car seat. Watches as her daughter's small face presses against the window, eyes wide with betrayal she's too young to understand. Mama! Zoe screams. Mama! Mama! Jasmine drops to her knees in the alley, the same alley where it all started, where she was kind to a stranger, where she learned the cruelest truth of her life. The night she chose kindness, she lost her child. The car's headlights flare, red taillights illuminating the dark. Zoe's cries fade as the distance grows, each meter in agony. And then they're gone. Jasmine is alone in the alley, on her knees on the wet concrete, the gun still clutched in her hand, her daughter's voice still echoing in her ears. If your heart is shattered right now, if you're crying with Jasmine, type "my heart breaks for her" in the comments and hit subscribe, because this isn't where it ends. Jasmine is going to fight back. And the next season is where she burns his world to the ground.